Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Braves Plus, brought to you by the Efterine Auto Group on 1470 and 100.3 WMBD. I'm your host, Chad Klein. Tonight, I continue my discussion series with Bradley's NIL group, Home of the Brave, and later, Dave Snell will talk with coaches about tonight's 7:30 tip-off between Bradley and UT Martin inside Carver Arena. After the break, my discussion with Home of the Brave continues. We will venture into NIL contracts, negotiations with recruits and current players, and player evaluations. That should be quite interesting. Remember, you can contribute to Home of the Brave at www.hotbrave.com. That's hotbrave.com. This is Braves Plus, brought to you by the Efterine Auto Group on 1470 and 100.3 WMBD. So we had such a good time the first two shows. I had to bring back Home of the Brave and just continue our conversation. We ended our last show talking about some of the inner workings of NIL, what you guys do. I think we've learned you're not affiliated with Bradley, so you can't sign players to scholarships.
Correct.
Yes? Okay. Is there ever an instance where an NIL contract would or could be signed before a scholarship is given to a player?
I mean, it certainly could.
Or would there even be a reason to do it? Because I would assume if there's no school involved, or maybe if you're a big enough organization like Nike or Gatorade, obviously we're not dealing with that. But
yeah, like hypothetically, in the state of Illinois, we could assign a high school player to a contract with Home of the Brave. They wouldn't, they wouldn't necessarily have to be going to Bradley. We could go look at a kid playing at Richwoods or Manual or Notre Dame and offer them a contract to represent our brand.
So I'm going to give you a quick hypothetical because, a coach comes to you and says, we found this 6'8", 240-pound D2 player. His name is Bradley Fantasy. He goes by Brad. Fantasy grew 2 inches last year, averaged 10 points, 9 rebounds, played at Southwest Dream State University. He was a sophomore. Shot 45% from the field, 30% from three-point range. Can't hit the free throws, though, only 60%. We have a connection with him, think we have a shot at him. He's asking for such a blank $1,000. I know you can't talk about individual players. I don't want to talk about individual players for privacy purposes and so forth. But can we walk through kind of the process a little bit? Do all recruits come to campus for a visit? Let's start there.
For the most part, sometimes the foreign guys, just logistically, it's hard. I don't think Meta, when he signed, ever stepped foot on Bradley's campus before basically New Year's Day when he showed up. So sometimes that happens, but generally speaking, they've all seen campus before they sign.
And when they see campus, they see the coaches, they see facilities and school, all the academic side of it. Do they see Home of the Brave?
Maybe at the end.
Okay.
Again, like we talked about last segment, that's usually where the coaches make the determination when they want to engage us in that process. But I don't think we've been involved too much as part of the welcoming committee. But we may be involved at the end to kind of help seal the deal.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that the coach wants, and that frankly we want, and the fans should want too, is that the guys really want to come to Bradley, and as long as that's there, we'll make sure that the NIL issues are proper and correct.
Sure,
because I'm sure everybody's had a job where they. It's like, you're making good money, but you absolutely hate going to work every day. It's the same concept.
Having that conversation with my son as he gets his first job opportunities, he's trying to pick from company A to company B. So understand what that's about. Is there ever a negotiation? So a player says, I want X money. Is there ever, and we can only give Y money. Mm-hmm. Is there ever a negotiation? Or is it kind of pretty much?
There is. There's back and forth, and you can do multiple years, hypothetically, more money, different structures, different payouts. I mean, it kind of gets like a pro contract almost where, not that there's incentives, but there's, hey, I want more sooner. I want to do more things sooner rather than during the season, that type of thing that can get negotiated on.
Yeah, and I would go back to something you said, Joe. A little back and forth, I think, is fine, but I think you get a sense for what the kid and the family are in it for through that process, whether it's genuinely like we want to be at Bradley and can we get a little bit more? Or have we taken the Home of the Brave offer and we're now shopping it around to 3 or 4 different schools to see what we can come back with? And, obviously you want to do what's right for your son and your family, but we have had incidents where maybe negotiations weren't made in good faith or a bit disingenuous.
I think that's true of any case, though.
Absolutely.
So along that lines, are you? This sounds maybe it's a silly question. Maybe it's more of a question for Coach Wardle. Are you always dealing with the parents? I've heard, relatives. I've heard agents. I've heard coaches.
You name it, we've dealt with it.
Really?
I mean, and agents can be good and bad. We've had agents that are really easy, straightforward. We've had agents that are total shysters. We have, most parents are just looking out for the well-being of their kid. Totally understandable. And most parents are the easiest way to go. But they're also not, most of them haven't done this either. So I don't blame them for wanting to have an attorney or an agent involved. Coaches sometimes get involved from like JUCO levels, AAU coaches, cousins, some guy that worked them out back in their hometown. You just never know.
Okay. Well, great conversation. I want to continue this on the other side of the break, but let's take a quick one. We'll be back with Home of the Brave. This is Braves Plus, brought to you by the Uftring Auto Group on 1470 and 100.3 WMBD. We're back. This is Braves Plus, brought to you by the Uftring Auto Group on 1470 and 100.3 WMBD. I'm talking to Home of the Braves. We were talking on the other side about some of the situations and so forth that you've gotten into and contracts. Once you have the okay, is it with scholarships, there's a letter of intent and then you get a scholarship. Is that the case with NIL, or does it go straight to the contract?
I mean, I would say
once you've gotten the yes from the player.
Yes, from the player that they're coming to Bradley. Yeah, I mean,
all the negotiations have happened. Yeah.
Yeah, we're straight to a contract.
So there's no promise. I mean, there's nothing preliminary, or is there? I mean,
you hope it's not the deciding factor. It hasn't been, I think, with the guys that we've gotten, but we've shown them the contract, especially recently. As they're here.
Even before they sign it?
Yes.
Okay. When do they usually sign the contract? I mean, let's say they've been given a scholarship. At what point is NIL involved then? Is it immediate? Is it just dependent on when they come back?
When they show up on campus for the fall semester.
Okay. Current players. So we're talking about recruits, but now what's changed with NIL is you have to recruit your own players back. How does that work? I mean, are you talking to them right away after the season's done? Are you waiting till in the off season?
No, we learned very early. I think I mentioned, a few episodes ago that we were founded on the day that Terry Roberts entered the portal.
Yes,
and totally coincidentally, but so we've made it a priority, as we've always made it, to retain our current players, and we've done a pretty good job of that. I'd say probably, actually, no, it's just we are the best in the Missouri Valley at doing that. And part of that is that, we're engaged with those guys throughout the year, back to the part of having these kind of like seminar type things with some of our membership, but also these guys are going out in the community and representing Home of the Brave, going to the children's hospitals, going to, shaking hands, kissing babies. And as soon as we are out of the current season, we're on top of it and trying to figure out what it's going to take to bring these guys back to Bradley. And
getting back to, again, NIL and what it is, that's what you want. I mean, you don't just want them to be representatives of the school and represent you on the floor. You want them to be, good stewards of the community.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a Peoria thing. This is an absolute Peoria thing.
Yeah, like we're saying about when to get engaged. Like we learned very quickly, not just when we were founded, when Terry left, but then the following year, we're thinking about when the right time is to engage current players, like Rink Mast was one of them.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, once the season ends, we'll let the dust settle and then we'll go talk to him. And we talked to Rink on Friday, and I think on Sunday or Monday he went in the portal.
Oh, wow.
And So, learning experience, of course, and I don't think anything we could have told him would have changed his mind. But we have made it a point since then and to engage the players, to let them know before the season's over that, hey, once we're done, ideally after the NCAA tournament, but whenever that might be, we'd like to sit down and talk to you about next year. We try to minimize disruption as much as we possibly can, of course.
Sure.
But at the same time, we've been asked, hey, make sure that they know that you want them. And so those conversations, I'd say the most stressful part for us is the 2 to 3 weeks after the season ends.
Because you don't know.
And getting those guys to commit to coming back. And I think you've seen in the Journal-Star, we've had articles about we've had commitments from guys to come back. And it's, like Joe said, retention has been the number one goal.
Sure. Not
just recruiting, but retention. And we've done a really good job of that. And that's priority one every year.
And I think Bradley and under Coach Wardle is uniquely positioned because him and his staff have always done such a great job of developing guys that it's not only it's easier to recruit to that, but it also helps keeping folks retained and coming back because they know they've gone from this level and every year they make a jump. And so not only on a selling point for guys coming in from the JUCO ranks, but also coming back to develop.
Next question: are there guidelines for the length of a contract? 6 months, a year, 2 years? Is there a guideline for that yet? We're kind of, and I know you're kind of working through this. All this continues to change.
Yeah, there's no guidelines. We've started to offer 2-year deals, which I think are beneficial not just to the program,
for retention,
but to the player.
Okay.
And so our gripes with the portal is every year free agency, right? And while we can't prevent that, we're trying to do our best to give these guys a sense that, hey, we're investing in you, not just to see what you can do next year, but we're actually, us, Home of the Brave, the program is investing in you for several years. So I think that's going to be the trend until there's some sort of change in portal rules where guys can't be free agents every year.
Sure. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll be back with Home of the Brave. This is Braves Plus, brought to you by the F-Train Auto Group on 1470 and 100.3 WMBD. We're back with Braves Plus, brought to you by the F-Train Auto Group on 1470 and 100.3 WMBD. We've been talking about NIL and contracts and the inner workings of the NIL. We're going to continue that conversation. Guys, I remember an old movie, Blue Chip. It was about basketball. It had Shaq, had Penny Hardaway. Can't remember the guy who played for Indiana.
Matt
Nover, Ricky Rowe, yeah. Players were given cash, a car, a tractor, a house for a parent. Our NIL contracts, are they money only? Let's start, let's go there.
Not necessarily. I'd say there's probably, if you looked across the country, there's more kind of trade for services than there is just straight monetary compensation.
Interesting.
We've had a couple guys that have had deals with car dealers. That they've done those, and whether it's in exchange for a discount on a car or use of a car, that type of stuff happens. I know, all sorts of restaurants and free sack of gondolas for a Twitter post type of deal.
Sure.
So first, Blue Chips is one of my favorite movies.
Awesome
ever.
Movie. It's cheesy, but it's good.
But it's amazing that movie has proved to be almost 100% accurate to what's going on today.
Go Dolphins.
But so it's interesting that you bring that up because what we have learned through this, and these are things that you learn going throughout this process, is that when you hear something that so and so will have, $1 million deal.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're like, man, how is that guy getting $1 million? I don't think that can't be right. And then you'll hear, well, he's getting a car and he is getting a house. But then you dig into that a little bit. He's getting to live in a rental house for free for a year that's owned by a donor. He gets to drive a car for a year for free. That would be a lease.
Yeah.
And so you find that the number of $1 million is someone doing the math between the value of the house and the value of the car, and maybe some advertisements he's been doing, and then some cash. In reality, that the actual cash that's being put down for that guy is actually a lot more realistic sounding.
Yeah.
And that's happened. I mean, in the early days, I think people were getting blown away by that. I don't think it's as much of a secret anymore. But, that's just when you hear about astronomical deals, I would just think about, okay, are these real? Are these people getting tangible assets, or are they just getting to drive a car for a year?
So once an NIL contract is signed by the student athlete, when do they get paid? And I don't mean that as I'm getting paid, baby.
Right.
Do you pay them up front?
It just really depends. Each one's a little bit different based on what their appearance schedule might be, or their social media posts, or the other miscellaneous basketball camp type of stuff that we've sponsored. Generally it's not just a lump sum up front. Part of what we have to do is protect donor money as well. So we don't want to pay for everything in advance.
So let's say a player leaves, for instance. Yeah. What happens if a player leaves?
Well, it depends. If they leave and leave town totally and don't fulfill the obligations of their contracts and making those appearances and making those posts and stuff like that, then they're not going to get paid for that because it is for their name, image, and likeness.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, as soon as they are unable to fulfill their obligations, we have to cancel the contract on our end.
Do you build those contingencies into the contract?
Absolutely.
Yes.
100%.
To protect, it's protection of the home of the brave, and the donors. Are there other issues within the contract that we haven't talked about? Obviously, I think we've kind of gone through the process of recruiting, signing, what it's involved, contingencies. Is there anything else that I missed?
I would say if you had, and we do have counsel that advises us on these and helps us write this. I think if you showed this to, any labor lawyer, he'd say this is a pretty boilerplate employment contract.
Okay.
There are obligations that they have to meet. And if they don't meet those obligations, then we have right to terminate. I don't think it's any more complex than that. It's not incentive laden. This isn't pay for play as much as
people want to say it is.
They say it is, but we don't have escalator clauses in there. If you make all conference, and you get more.
I'd love to, but
sometimes that sounds like a great idea, but we don't have those right now. And those, I don't think, now with the NIL Go and having to submit contracts through that, I definitely don't think that those contracts would fly.
So you've been in the NIL world, obviously, and you hear some of the stories. Do you think some of the pay for play does happen? Yes. Your opinion only.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it does. I don't know if it's put on paper necessarily.
Sure.
You can't prevent that if some donor wants to give somebody an extra $50,000 for being all conference, but I'm guessing it is, but I don't think it's in writing.
It would never happen at Bradley University.
I like how you talk, sir. Matt, do you have an opinion on this? Okay. Well, when we come back, we'll have more with Home of the Brave. This is Braves Plus, brought to you by the Uftring Auto Group on 1470 and 100.3 WMBD. Welcome back to Braves Plus, brought to you by the Uftring Auto Group on 1470 and 100.3 WMBD. And this is by the numbers. Last time out, Bradley faced Central Michigan in their home opener. After Bradley's last outing and watching film of Central Michigan, I have to admit I had some questions over how Bradley would handle this Central Michigan team with their age, size, and physicality. But Bradley put those fears to rest quickly. The Braves jumped on Central Michigan early and often, got out to a 31-12 lead, led by Alex Hubricks, who knocked down 3 threes that really helped extend that lead for Bradley in the first half. That being said, Central Michigan would respond late with a 13-4 run of their own to cut that margin to 10, 35-25 at halftime. In the second half, Central Michigan further cut into that deficit. They got it down to 6, 37-31. But it was as close as they would get. Coach Wardle called a timeout at 18-23, and he was hot. Bradley just did not come out ready to play in the second half, and he needed to jumpstart the Braves. Caillou was subbed in for Ahmet Jonovic to see his first quality minutes of the season and played well off the bench. And from there, Bradley was off. The defense picked up, and Central Michigan just had no answer for Jaquan Johnson, who scored 19 of his career-high 33 points in the second half. And he beat Central Michigan in multiple ways. He was able to knock down the three-point shot. He attacked them off the dribble, and he was just a menace to Central Michigan. A.J. Smith responded to a subpar performance against St. Bonaventure and brought a high level of energy all over the floor, and it resulted in 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 steals to lead the Braves, and 2 blocks on the night. Alex Schubricks was the other Brave in double figures with 11 points. Bradley shot 52% from the field while holding Central Michigan to just 36%. The Braves out-rebounded Central Michigan 39-29 and had 10 offensive boards. They turned over the Chippewas 15 times, resulting in 18 Bradley points. It was a dominating performance against a solid opponent. 85-54 was the winning score for Bradley. Tonight, Bradley faces a challenge from the UT Martin Skyhawks out of the Ohio Valley Conference. UT Martin raised some eyebrows with their season-opening win at UNLV, 86-81. They then went home and dominated Division III opponent Kentucky Christian, as they should have, 97-42. This UT Martin squad is made up of skilled international players. They'll look to spread the floor and use a mixture of penetrate and kick, transition, and second chance looks off long rebounds to get about 33-point attempts per game. Yep, that's right, 33-point attempts per game, over half their shots. The Skyhawks will be led by redshirt sophomore Dragus Lungu and junior Andrea Bukmirovic, who each average about 20 points a game. If Bradley's going to win, they're going to need to take care of the ball and look to attack the basket against this smaller opponent on offense. While skilled, this UT Martin team is a little bit undersized, and so the opportunities will be there to attack inside. On defense, Bradley will need to stay disciplined. Locate shooters. That's in the half court and in transition. Control dribble penetration. And don't give up too many second chance looks. If they do that, they can get the win. If they don't, it's going to be difficult. Up next, Dave Snell talks to the Bradley coaches about tonight's 7:30 matchup against UT Martin. You've been listening to Braves Plus, brought to you by the F. Auto Group on 1470 and 100.3 WMBD.